Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Wilhelm Scream, and welcome back to another day in Destiny 2 for some more Destiny 2 news and Beyond Light 30th Anniversary Edition Intel. And in this video, I'm going to be taking you through this week's Grandmaster Nightfall, which once again is the Proving Grounds, probably the least favorite strike for me personally in the rotation this season, or sort of the last two seasons, as it is still from Season of the Lost, now the 30th Anniversary sort of sub-season season. Hopefully everybody's been enjoying all the new content. We have the Dawning out right now, so there's a lot of stuff to do. New weapons are plentiful in the game, which I'm really loving. I'm sure everybody's taken advantage of getting the revamped Galahorn and the Catalyst, hopefully, because it really is worth it to get the Catalyst. And if you don't have it, I'm going to be making a video very shortly about how you can instantly get the Catalyst without actually having to really do the dungeon. But if you're still going for the Conqueror Seal this season, you might be taking advantage of the Grandmaster Nightfall this week, or maybe you're just going for the Adept version of either the Hung Jury Scout Rifle or the Hothead Rocket Launcher, which is still pretty meta. I think both of those are very valuable weapons to have currently in the sandbox. So, if you're going for either one of those, or the Conqueror Seal like I mentioned, or maybe just some Ascendant Shards, a few things you're going to want to do for this week's Grandmaster Nightfall if you're doing it in a group or solo. One, though there are many options available that will probably do you well in this week's Grandmaster, I would suggest having one of your fire team bring the Skyburner's Oath with them. This scout rifle definitely doesn't get a lot of use, but in this particular strike it comes in very handy because it actually allows you to penetrate the shields that the mini bosses as well as the final boss put up. You can actually kill the actuator inside the shield from outside of the shield, thereby you don't actually have to run into the shield and possibly get walloped by the bosses. This will come in handy later because we're going to have one or possibly two players actually glitch outside of the map. And if you don't have this weapon, you're really not going to be able to do the things that you want to do outside of the map as effectively. So having one fire team member, or if you're doing this solo, having the Skyburner's Oath available is a good option. For the first area, I would just sort of hang to the left where the boss actually spawns in at the beginning of the ramp. You can see these big sort of red wires and pipes on this side, and as you can see, I stay up on a higher elevation, and from this vantage point you can actually shoot the shield, and even if you don't see damage being done to the actuator inside of the shield, know that it's actually being damaged and eventually it will blow up. Sometimes there is a little bit of a glitch where you won't actually see the damage readout, but it's always there. It's just depending on the vantage point, really. So that'll let you take out the first boss fairly easily and progress. I know a lot of people get hung up in this first zone, and if you can't really get through it fast, and it's not an easy zone necessarily just because it's early on in the strike, fire teams fall apart all the time. So having a Skyburner's Oath by your side, especially if you're just doing a pickup group, might make the difference, at least in how quickly you do it, as well as the overall morale of your team. Once you progress through that area, the next spot that I want to talk about a little bit is the, I guess you could call it the tank room. There's two glitches that you can actually do in here. One I actually thought was patched, but then somebody was showing me that they actually did it. One is you can take the vehicles in this area that are already available, the interceptors, I believe they're called, and you can actually park them in front of the tank doors. You have to do this obviously before you actually open the tank doors, so do it before you actually kill all the enemies in the room, save one before you actually open the tank doors. And while you have that one enemy still alive, park the interceptors in front of the tank doors. What this will do is, on occasion, and I say on occasion because I think you really have to get it in the right space now, but for some reason it'll still work. It'll actually stop the tanks from coming outside into the room. So this lets you actually take out one at a time. As soon as you fire on the tank, they will just sort of bulldoze over the interceptor. But if you don't shoot the tank, as long as the interceptor's there, the tank will just sit there and essentially be inactive. So you can take one out one at a time. Another great thing you can do with the interceptors is if you just bulldoze them right into a tank, they can actually one-shot the tank. They do about 95% of the total damage needed to destroy any tank. There might be a sliver of health left to them after a interceptor bombardment, but one or two shots on a wheel will take them out at that point. If you've done any little bit of damage before that, it will one-shot them. So that's another thing you can do. I would suggest maybe parking an interceptor outside of the door for one tank, have the other interceptor, as there will be 3, I believe, or at least 2, bulldoze into the tank, take the one out as quickly as possible, and then you can do the same with the other while the tank is still actually parked there, so you don't actually have to worry about doing damage and getting a little bit lower health on the tank before you actually bulldoze it. Probably the quickest way to take out all the enemies in this room. I would also suggest, if you're just trying to take out ads and you're doing this solo, stay in the middle section where you see me standing here, because it's just a little bit easier. The snipers on the edge have a harder time actually getting a perspective on you, so you won't actually get shot by them quite as much. It's just a better place to hold out as far as I'm concerned, other than standing in the back of the room, which, unless you have an Ursa Furiosa, is not really going to work out that well. Now, the big out-of-bounds glitch doesn't come until you get to the gears room. This is after you've actually had to drop the nodes in to progress. Do the first nodes as normal. Once you get the second one, bring it back in, drop it in as normal. But before you progress into the next zone, what I would suggest is having 1 or 2 players make their way outside of the map in the way that we're going to do here. Now, the other player, and this is very important, has to go up the elevator. Go up to the top of the elevator and wait. That is kind of a timing thing. You have to sort of wait for your out-of-bounds players to be to a certain point and then have them go up, or actually have them go up the lift and then go to the out-of-bounds glitch. But you want to make sure that you do it kind of at the same time, and I would suggest maybe going into a lower level strike and just testing this out if it is something that you want to try with a fire team, because the timing can be a little bit tricky and I don't want anybody to progress outside the map or in the map and then get pulled back in, and that just ruins the whole thing. But once you have one player up the elevator, have the other 2 make their way outside of the map in the fashion that I'm showing you here. You'll jump outside behind that sort of rotating gear on the right side of the room, and then make your way up this fairly simple little jumping puzzle. You can't really make too many mistakes. It is a little bit dark, but there's plenty of solid places and flat areas that you can land on. You'll make your way to this sort of big gray slab that you see me jumping up to in this section. Once you're here, make your way to the right side of these columns that you see sort of hanging down. You can make your way directly across them, but there's a whole bunch of invisible barriers there that you might end up running into, so that can slow up your progress. I would suggest just traversing around them. You'll see the sort of overhanging slab to my left. Go around that. Use that as your corner, sort of as a way of traversing this. But then you'll see another sort of bunch of gangplanks and trellises, you could call them, that you'll jump up upon on my left. It's fairly easy platforming. You can take your time. You don't have to really rush through any of this once you have a player up the elevator. Get onto these spots. You can see I make a few mistakes here and there. They can be a little bit slick, but there's plenty of places if you can sort of turn up. I would suggest turn up the brightness on your screen if it's dark. I have sort of a dark screen, so some of these places can be a little bit trickier for me to see. But once you make it up onto this spot, you should be good to go. Then jump up on top of this sort of long, like, hallway section. Again, you'll know it by these other sort of trellis-looking pieces of metal hanging left and right. And then for this area, I don't think a hunter is really going to be able to do this. This is kind of a primary for warlocks and titans, and you'll need to do some titan flying with a sword if you do get to this point. But then you'll make your way around this edge. Maybe use your super if you need to, because you won't need it for the final boss area. And up onto this roof. Now, once you're here, the player who's gone up the elevator can progress into the boss room. And you'll find yourself actually floating above the boss room. You'll be able to shoot down on the actuator in the middle that the boss hides under for his shield. And that'll really help your teammates, either one or two that are actually in the boss room, as they won't have to actually do that. You'll be safe and sound outside of the boss room. You can actually traverse over the entire area of the boss room this way. Now, for your two players that are in the actual boss room, though I don't have image of it here, there's a couple of things that they can do. First of all, the boss's AoE damage, that's not his like sniper shot, but sort of those big flaming balls that he shoots out, they won't hit you so long as you're in the back side of the room. If he's up in the front and you're on the back, they won't be able to hit you back there. They sort of burn out before they get to you on the door side of the room. The other thing is the little tunnel that goes underneath the boss. It's kind of the place for people to hide out. It's the only like safe area that you can sort of take one group of ads out at a time before you actually attack the boss. It does catch on fire underneath there, which kind of sucks, but you can stay to the sides of that actual tunnel. There's little ledges on either side of the tunnel that you can stay on. You won't get burned so long as you stand there. It's very, very small, but it's a safe spot. So for the people that are in the room, maybe have one in the back of the room, because like I said, you won't take damage from the AoE attacks from the boss. Of course, you still have to deal with the ads, or have two people underneath on the tunnel side hanging out on those two edges, maybe one above outside of the map like you see me here. And that's going to be it for all the information in today's video. Hopefully you found something in this video helpful. Hopefully you can get a hothead rocket launcher or a hung jury scout rifle. They're still pretty meta. I know there's a lot of new loot in the game that everybody's going for, so those might fall by the wayside as far as priority is concerned, but I still think they're pretty great. And of course, if you're just going for that Conqueror Seal or some Ascendant Shards, it's always good to do a Grandmaster Nightfall. If you liked this video and found it helpful, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel for more Destiny 2 content. You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter. All of those things will enter you into any future giveaways on the YouTube channel. The next one is at 55,000 subscribers. We're doing a Witch Queen Deluxe Seasonal Pass giveaway. Hopefully we reach 55,000 by the time that launches, so nobody misses out on any of the new content. And for an extra entry into that giveaway, you can leave a hashtag 30th anniversary or a hashtag Beyond Light or a hashtag Proving Grounds in the comments section down below. That'll give you another entry into that giveaway for this video. Remember those secret hashtags I do at the end of every video, stack between all videos. So if you haven't done this on a previous piece of content on this channel, you can always go back and do it again on another video. And of course, I am Wilhelm Scream. We will see you next time. Little